The same thing in Revelation 13, the first half of the chapter, that we did in Revelation 12, and just jump straight into it without any knowledge of the preceding context, but only holding on to our one key tool that we are going to interpret Revelation in light of the imagery being drawn from the Old Testament. Just like I think Revelation 12 led us pretty quickly into understanding the woman as the nation, the physical kingdom of Israel, people of Israel. Likewise, I think Revelation 13 leads us pretty quickly into understanding the first beast, the beast of the sea. We read that the beast of the sea has 10 horns and 7 heads with 10 diadems on its horns and blasphemous names on its heads. The beast that I saw was like a leopard, its feet were like a bear's, and its mouth was like a lion's mouth. Beast, leopard, bear, lion. That should ring a bell, especially if you've read the Old Testament, and especially if you've watched this video series. We spent a lot of time on Daniel 7 that talked about 4 beasts. The first was like a lion. The second was like a bear. Here, let me highlight you. The first beast was like a lion. The second beast was like a bear. The third beast was like a leopard. And the fourth beast, not described in terms of being like any particular animal, he has iron teeth, but I tell you what else he has is the fourth beast has 10 horns. Now, the beast of the sea in Revelation 13, it's not exactly the same. This is not an exact reputation. This is certainly not an exact quotation. We're not just rehashing Daniel 7 all over again. We're recapitulating the ideas. We're having rhyming ideas. But now, instead of 4 beasts, lion, beast, bear beast, leopard beast, 10-horned beast, now we have one beast with a conglomeration of all of those features. The beast is like a leopard, but his feet are like a bear's, his mouth is like a lion's, and the same beast has 10 horns, incorporating all 4 of the beasts of Daniel 7 into one beast of Revelation 13. Now, in Daniel 7, we know what the deal is with these 4 beasts, because we're explicitly told, if I can find it, that these 4 great beasts are 4 kings. Although we're also told later on that as for the 4th beast, there shall be a 4th kingdom. So we said kingdom, don't get too tied down to, kings and kingdoms are identified with each other. So don't get tied down to this. We have to be super specific. We're evoking ideas, and so king or kingdom. But so the 4 beasts of Daniel are definitely these kingly kingdom type stuff. In Revelation, clearly borrowing from Daniel 7, we have these 4 kings or kingdomly type stuff all amalgamated into one. Now, these why would they be amalgamated into one? Let me get back to that in just a minute. But just further confirmation as we go down and describe what this beast loves to be worshipped, right? Even as the Nebuchadnezzar, the first beast, who was actually turned into a beast in Daniel, he loved being setting up an image and being worshipped. The kings of Rome like to be treated as divine. There's a great, if you're looking to visit the 12 churches of Revelation in Turkey, I recommend Ephesus and Pergamum if you've got limited time. Top places to go. The Pergamum, that Revelation, the letters to the 7 churches say, I know where you live, where the throne of God is there. this great ruins up on the top of a hill in the middle of Pergamum city, where there's this great shrine to the emperor of Rome. Emperors love to be worshipped as deities, and people love to worship their emperors as deities. The woman figure loves to um, treat her male figure as divine. And then as we go on, this, how is this beast behaving? Blasphemous words like these. The seven beasts in Daniel. Big consensus that we're talking about Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, and Rome. Kingdoms, not just in the old kingdoms. These are the kingdoms that hold Israel in captivity, that hold control over her land, that are custodians over Israel while she's in an exilic period, and that impose rules upon Israel, that invade and burn her temple and take away, whether it's Nebuchadnezzar, whether it's Antiochus, whether it's Titus and Vespasian. These kings like to take away the holy vessels and persecute the Jews. Likewise, the beast over here, the beast of the sea, blasphemous words, exercise authority. He opens his mouth to blaspheme against God. He makes war on the saints. That's what these beasts were doing. These are the four beasts that make war on the Jews from the time of the exile up to the time of Christ. These are the four kingdoms that are making war on God's people. Authority over all of every nation and tongue and tribe and nation. I'll talk. There's this intervening little poem here. I'll talk to that when we get to the final application section. But this beast of the sea is the spirit of the beasts that make war, the kings and kingdoms that make war on God's people. Now, when I say the spirit of the kings and kingdoms that make war on God's people, there's a reason why I say that. This really is why are Daniel's four beasts amalgamated into a conglomeration one beast in Revelation that has the four properties of all four of them? Well, I say that the beast of now Revelation, which is even more complete picture and the final unveiling, is talking about the spiritual power behind the kingdoms of the earth. So we don't just have kings and kingdoms, but we have spiritual forces in the heavenly realms, right? Ephesians 5. Our battle is not against flesh and blood. We stand against the schemes of the evil one. We do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, authorities, and the cosmic powers over this present age, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. Daniel was aware of the same thing. Daniel talks about Daniel in chapter 10. He's standing there. Some man visits him. It sure sounds a lot like the man in Revelation 1. He has a fine gold belt and a body like beryl, a face like lightning, eyes like flaming torches. And he speaks to Daniel and says, "Oh, greatly beloved Daniel, do not fear. I've heard your prayers from the day you set to understand and humbled yourself." Daniel 9. Daniel 10 follows right on Daniel 9, the humble, repentant prayer. "Your words have been heard, and I have come because of your words. The prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days, but Michael, who is one of the chief princes, came to help me, for I was left there with the kings of Persia." Michael, the archangel, is warring with the prince of Persia. Is this a human figure? Probably not. The prince of Persia is the spiritual force behind Persia. More down here. Not only does Persia have a prince or spiritual force, later on, same chapter, Daniel 10:20. "Do you know why I have come to you? I will now return to fight against the prince of Persia. When I go, behold, the prince of Greece will come." This is battle. This is a battle that's happening in the heavenly realms. This is a spiritual battle between Christ and with Christ and Archangel Michael, fighting against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers, the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. So Daniel has a vision of spiritual warfare, of princes of Persia and princes of Greece behind what's happening in the physical realm of the kings and the kingdoms. And Revelation is well aware of that. In Revelation 7, we're again talking about a beast, and I saw the woman sitting on a scarlet beast that was full of blasphemous names. It had 7 heads and 10 horns. That sure sounds like a lot like the same beast we already heard in Revelation 13 that had 7 heads and 10 horns. He goes on to give more. I'm going to give more explanation of this beast. This calls for a mind with wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman is seated. That leads to a lot of people talking about the 7 hills of Rome. Rome is a city on 7 hills. By the way, Constantinople, New Rome, Constantine deliberately built Constantinople as a city on 7 hills to be the new Rome. So church history kind of strangely seems to want to model things after the beast of the sea. That sounds strange, but we'll get back to that. So these 7 heads are 7 mountains, but they're also 7 kings, 5 of whom have fallen. So now the 7 heads are 7 kings. In Daniel, the 4 beasts were kings or kingdoms. In Revelation, there's 1 beast with 7 heads, and the 7 heads are 7 kings. So one thing I want to get from this is the fluidity of symbolism. Don't get too tied down to a beast has to one-to-one correspondence between a beast and a king. Every time you say a beast, tell me the name of the king. A beast can be, if a beast is beastly kings. Medo-Persia had a series of beastly kings. And then later on in Revelation, the beast actually turns into, they're just 1 beast, but his heads are kings. So there's fluidity to symbolism, and I think that the scriptural approach of using symbolism is it wants you to allow some fluidity of the metaphors and the imagery in your brain, because that allows for neural networks of connections. Kings and kingdoms are identified with each other. Spiritual forces that are affecting kings, that are behind the kings, that are influencing the kings and kingdoms. There's also a correspondence, just as Jesus is the Son of Man who comes on the clouds, is the representative of the saints of the Most High in Daniel. 1-to-1 correspondence between a divine kingly figure and the citizens he represents. So there's supposed to be this network of fluid imagery that's flowing through your brain. And again, there's reason for this. It's not ambiguity. It's not that God is not able to tie things down. It's because Revelation, apocalyptic literature in general, is giving us a schematic, and there's a whole lot of stuff going on in the world at different times and different places, and by giving kind of a schematic, you get the blueprint outline of the principles that are at work. There's spiritual forces, and there's spiritual forces battling in the heavenly realms, but they are influencing what is happening among the kingdoms of the earthly realms. And if those 2 ideas get meshed together and a little bit ambiguous and vague in your mind, that's good, because they are enmeshed together. And sometimes you're wondering, it's like when Jesus rebuked Peter and said, "Get behind me, Satan." Was Jesus talking to Peter, who was speaking in a Satan-like manner? Or was Jesus talking to Satan, who was influencing Peter? Or standing beside Peter and whispering in his ear? It's a little bit ambiguous, but that's kind of the point, is that you're supposed to be saying these things are influencing each other. So, in sum then, I say that the beast of the sea in the first half of Revelation 13 ultimately is the spiritual demonic power and forces behind those kings and kingly realms that are hostile to, that attack, that make war on God's people, the persecutorial kingdoms that seek to destroy God's people, force them to abandon their profession, their testimony of faith in Christ through threats and blasphemy and warnings and through the sword and coercion. The beast of the sea is those hostile, the spiritual forces behind those hostile forces, and the 10 heads, the kingdoms themselves, 7 heads, and 7 again being a representative of completion. The 7 churches represent the universal church. Likewise, the 7 heads is all of those kings and kingdoms. That there's also 10 diadems. 10 is also a number of completion in the Bible. All of the kings and all of the kingdoms and the spiritual demonic forces behind them that wage war on God's people. That's the beast of the sea. And I was about to cut it off, but wouldn't you know, that fits in with the 7th trumpet, because the 7th trumpet is the kingdom of the world has become the kingdom of our Lord and of his Christ. It's about Christ's reign, taking his power, reigning, overcoming, and ruling the nations with a rod of iron. So the 7th trumpet was all about kingdoms, and now we are being introduced to a cast of characters in chapter 12. Chapter 12 through 13 who are of the kingdoms. The kingdom of Israel in chapter 12, the hostile kingdoms that attack Israel and God's people in chapter 13. And we will see that the second beast is more of this kingdom cast, this cast of characters of kingdoms and kingdomly spiritual forces.